How dare you say that to us, okay? All right, so we are... Huh?
He's probably just another fucking hater. Do we know this guy?
Darth is cool.
Oh, we know Darth? Okay.
Yeah,
well,
Darth.
Fuck you, Darth.
He's
Anyway.
just being a little troll right now.
Anyway.
All right, so yeah, we are back. We have another debate. It is going to be on monarchy, not minarchy. I thought it was minarchy when I set it up, but I was wrong. So it's on monarchy versus democracy. I'm your host, Brittany. I'm here with my co-host, Todd. Is Justin coming?
I'm not sure. But yeah, chat, I did pick that tune. Do you not like it?
You're fuzzy again, Todd.
Am I? Well,
yeah.
I'll re-sign out.
All right.
It's a new program.
I'm going to bring on our guests. So let's bring on Mr. Jonah himself. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I've had a wonderful day. I've been arguing with people in the Discord, and I've had a lot of fun.
Good.
Yeah.
So introduce yourself to everybody. Tell them where you lie on the political spectrum and where people can find you.
All right, I'm a lefty. You can find me. I'm streaming now because I'm a streamer. I'm streaming from YouTube, Quibbles Over Coffee. And yeah, that's who I am.
Alrighty. Next up, let's bring on Liquid Zulu.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm doing fucking great. Feeling fucking pumped. Rittenhouse just won. Baby, yeah. Like
all right.
Punch Mike Tyson right now. Loving it.
So, oh my God, how much liquid have you consumed, Zulu?
Well,
no, I'm excited.
I am celebrating tonight, so I'm a little zonked. So,
Oh, I love that. Okay. Well, he's our favorite drunk. If you guys haven't noticed, and you should go look on our YouTube page, Liquid Zulu is the champ for the greatest politically provoked moment in history, and it was amazing. So we do have that video up, and you guys should go find it because it is glorious. And it looks like we might get another. All right, so we are going to, so introduce yourself to everybody.
My name is Liquid Zulu. I'm an anarcho-capitalist, and I make YouTube videos at youtube.com/Liquid Zulu.
I'm only now realizing what liquid meant.
Me too. I just saw you celebrating Rittenhouse, huh?
Hell yeah.
Well, why don't you guys give your thoughts on Rittenhouse, since that is the talk of the day. Before we go into the debate, why don't we go into that a little bit? So, Liquid, go on.
Well, I did some non-alcoholic celebration of Rittenhouse, but I won't mention that on here so we don't get banned. But Rittenhouse, it was total defense, and furthermore, he is a hero for liberty, as recognized by the state now.
Didn't see Todd there. Sorry, but
no, it's okay. Am I good?
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, he didn't deserve to go to jail. I'm glad he didn't end up going to jail. I think his mom is a fucking imbecile and a terrible mother. But I think that the fact that she's a bad mother does not mean that even she should go to jail, probably. I wouldn't get that upset if she went to jail for a little bit, but not for a long bit.
She looks beautiful.
Certainly... Say it again?
She looks beautiful.
Okay. I don't really know what she looks like, but okay. Yeah.
I need someone to do a welfare check on low T theory. Low T, please get help. I'm sorry. I know this didn't go the way you wanted today. Sorry, bro.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my stance.
All righty. Well, I guess we can get into the debate then. So I think both of you guys kind of know the drill.
Fight Night, what are you talking about? Listen to this slimy weasel talk. I haven't said anything you could possibly disagree with yet, okay? I'm going to say slimy, weaselly things, obviously, but I haven't even begun, okay? Absurdity.
Oh my God. And we're keeping the chat off until Q&A?
Okay.
I'm saying, do you guys want the chat
I
up?
love the chat. I love the chat.
I normally don't look at the chat, but this one just kind of has it on screen anyway, so I guess.
All right, so we'll go with it today. Opening statements, 1 to 5 minutes. Then we'll open up the floor for those watching. If you have questions, tag Politically Provoked so we know you're talking to us and not the chat. And we will get to those at the end, and then we will do closing statements, final thoughts after the Q&A. So, who wants to go first?
Oh, can I go first?
Go for it.
Okay. Liquid, I'm scared. The reason I want to go first is because I'm scared. And the reason I'm scared is because I'm concerned. I'm concerned about the following. I'm concerned that you're going to make this into an argument about land theory. And you're going to make this an argument about, whether or not people have a right to have control over the over like the land, over natural resources, all of that. We've already had our argument over Georgism versus ANCAP sort of theory. So I want to avoid that as much as we possibly can. I know you're somewhat drunk. I would never admit publicly to what I've done in the last 24 hours, but I may or may not have consumed certain experiences in the last 24 hours as well. So I do think that that's sort of like where we're both coming at this emotionally, but I want to keep it focused, if we can, on not about like what our end state is and what like the perfect state would be, which I think in both cases would be not a state, but rather on sort of, in the meantime, what's better, democracy or monarchy. Okay, so given that choice, it's just between those, not we don't have a state, but between those two choices. My answer is from a functionality perspective, from a perspective of what's more subject to change, what can be changed better on behalf of the majority, and which one is sort of closer to consensual, even though obviously neither one of them is perfectly consensual. I would argue in all three of those categories that democracy is a better close approximation of sort of a reasonable system, even though it's not perfect, than is monarchy.
Okay, so my argument, and I agree that we're not going into like the end states, because of course, both of our end states, neither of us want either democracy or monarchy. I'm an anarchist, I want an anarcho-capitalist society. You're a Georgist, you want a perfect Georgist society, right? Neither of those are democracy or monarchy, right? But my argument for monarchy is that of Hans Hermann Hoppe, where he says the monarch tends to be lower time preference than the democratic leader. So the democratic leader, he has an incentive to, basically any leader in any nation has an incentive to basically reap from the nation some of its capital resources for their own personal gain. That is true of all leaders of every nation. But a monarch, he knows that he sees the nation as his capital ownership. He sees himself as owning the nation. So he wants to preserve the capital value of the nation as long as possible, because he knows he'll own that until his death and pass it on to his children. So he wants to preserve the capital values of the nation, which means he wants to tax as little as possible, and he wants to infringe on the property of people who are in that nation as little as possible. Whereas the democratic leader, he knows he's going to be there for 4 years, say, and then his term limit's up. Or even if he doesn't have a term limit, he knows 4 years from now there's going to be an election. His future as the leader of that nation is uncertain, and he definitely can't just pass it on to his children. So that's the Democrat is therefore going to want to reap the capital value in the short term rather than the long term. So the democratic leader is going to be higher time preference than the monarchistic leader. So this high time preference will lead to high time preference policies, which are going to be destructive in the long run. So therefore, a democracy is going to be more destructive, more decivilizing. It's going to tax more than a monarchy in general. It will tend towards that.
Okay. Are we just going immediately into back and forth? Okay, sweet. All right, so let's just take some examples. Would you say that North Korea, for example, is a monarchy?
Yep.
Okay. I don't know how familiar you are with North Korea. Would you say that they tax more or less than the United States?
Oh yeah, way more.
Okay. Isn't that a argument against what you're proposing?
No, because individual examples don't prove tendency. What I'm showing here is the praxeologic tendency. Based on praxeology, which is the general science of human action, there is a tendency for monarchies to be more overarching, more high time preference, more infringing on your life than monarchies would. Individual examples don't disprove this tendency.
So why don't, so you're right that obviously individual examples don't prove a tendency. The issue is that we can't really look at sort of data on this, right? Because there's no data because the number of countries, there's only 193, I don't remember exactly the number. But like there's just not that many countries. And so if we're looking at like modern examples, how about I just name a bunch that I think are sort of authoritarian bordering on monarchistic.
Name as many as you want.
Okay, so I would say North Korea, the USSR. I would say Hitler's Nazi Germany. I would say Mussolini in Italy. All of these I would use as examples. Yeah.
I could imagine that literally every single monarchy that has ever existed has been worse on average than every single democracy that ever existed. I could cede that ground to you right now, but my argument would not change. There is a tendency for monarchies to be more libertarian than democracies are, right? Because data points, historicism, that's entirely irrelevant to the argument. My argument is entirely praxeological, which is an argument of pure logic. It does not require you look at history, right?
Yeah, I guess so I would disagree with that just at a base level, that we can disassociate from history, right? Because like I do think history is an important sort of thing to be thinking about if we're thinking about the quality of a system. And so if we have tried monarchy a lot of times before and it's failed a lot of times before, I was using sort of modern examples, obviously, but if we wanted to, we could go back further in history as well. Although I think those are less relevant, frankly, than the ones that are more modern examples, because those are the ones that are more approximating the sort of underlying financial realities and underlying sort of social realities that we have in the United States of today. Which is sort of what I'm more interested in ultimately. But like, I guess, do you have any example of a functional one? Do you have like yeah, I'll just go there. Do you have any example that's a reasonable good one? Go for it.
So monarchies in like say the medieval going on to like the pre-World War I period, it tended to be the case where, you know, if Austria was at war with Poland, Polish citizens and Austrian citizens didn't even necessarily know that there was a war going on. They could just move between the two and they didn't really care, right? Because they were just the states would war. It was just basically seen as the kings were at war, but I'm not at war because I'm not like in service of the king or anything. And I do have a point here in that science requires that you keep all other variables equal, right? You know, if I want to measure what effect temperature has on the room, on some volume of gas, what effect does temperature have on the pressure of that gas? I can't say, right, we're going to up the temperature and pass an electric current through it, because I'm changing an extra variable there. And in economics here, there is constantly, every fucking variable is changing. You can't keep all else equal, which is why empiricism doesn't work for the human sciences of, say, human action, which is why we need to resort to praxeology and things like that. And, you know, you bring up that monarchy has failed a lot of times before, but I'd say every single democracy has also failed. So, you know, it's irrelevant that monarchy has failed because democracy has also failed. All states fail.
Yeah, so all states fail, I agree. But when we say all states fail, what we're saying is that all states fall. But that's different than all states fail, as in all states are equally bad for those people who are living under them during the period of time that they're living under them. So I would say that living under Nazi Germany, which fell, is materially worse than, for example, living under, you know, any number of other sort of relatively modern countries that also fell, right?
Nazi Germany was a democracy.
Not Nazi Germany. The Weimar Republic was a democracy, but by the time
Hitler
it became
was
the Nazi,
democratically voted in, right?
Correct, but he didn't stay democratic, right? I think you can.
So
become
is the UK not a democracy?
I think that I think you're arguing about this sort of like on paper they have a queen, if that's what you're saying. But I think in terms of the actual functional way that they operate as a parliamentary system. Right?
Sure, but the voting was suspended during World War II, just like with Germany.
If you're arguing that the United Kingdom was closer to a monarchy during World War II,
no, what I'm arguing is it was a
agree with you.
democracy.
What?
What I'm arguing is the UK was a democracy.
Yeah, you can be a democracy and then cease to be a democracy and then become a democracy again, right?
Sure, but Hitler was democratically voted in, right?
Right, but he didn't stay democratically voted in. He was voted in democratically, and then he didn't maintain that mandate because there wasn't, like, he stopped having
what would be
elections.
a case where what would require him, what would he have had to do to maintain that mandate?
Keep on having elections.
Keep on having elections. How often?
As often as, I mean, like, there's a sliding scale here, right? If you're saying that like, I think you're less democratic, for example, when you have like gerrymandering, for example, makes you less democratic. I think you're less democratic when, for example, you only allow landowners to vote, or you only allow men to vote, or
you were
only
saying him as a
allow
monarchy.
white people
You
to
were
vote.
saying him as like the antithesis of democracy, right?
I was saying that he was an example of someone who is closer, right? This is we're getting to a pretty obvious clarification that yes, this is a sliding scale, and of course that's true, right? There are things that are very, very close to pure monarchies. So something like North Korea, I think, is very close to a strict monarchy. And there are places that are very, very close to a strict democracy. I don't think there's any that we can point to that are at the same scale as North Korea. But there are things that are certainly much closer. And America is something that's much closer to a democracy than North Korea, certainly, and also than Germany, Nazi Germany.
Sure. So then we can get into the tendency argument, the time preference argument. What would be your response to that? That the fact that a monarch will tend to want to preserve the capital value of the nation, whereas a Democrat would want to get as much as possible in the time that they're in office.
Yeah, I would look to like the fall of. I mean, like if we look at the number of people who starve, for example, under the USSR, for example, under North Korea, it's a lot higher than the number of people who starve under democratic systems.
This is still empiricism, right?
Well, I'm trying to use an example. Yes.
But that won't ever prove a tendency, as you agreed, because individual examples can't prove a tendency. What I'm looking for is
right, but Liquid,
disprove the tendency that I've laid for.
So there's only two things that we can do here, because there's no like data in the same, like we can look at like
we don't
broad
need data.
swaths of data. No, I understand that, but in other sort of discussions, equivalent discussions, we can look at broad data and say like here is a whole host of data that proves a point or disproves a point. You can't do that in the context of state questions, because there's just so few states. And so you either have to say, I'm going to look at individual cases, or you're going to say, I don't give a shit about what's going on in the real world. And I'm only going to talk theoretically. Now, I'm willing to talk to you theoretically, but I'm not willing to cede the idea that we're also going to have to talk a little bit about what's actually going on in the real world, because otherwise this isn't grounded in reality at all, right?
No, but the praxeology of the case is going to tell you what you would expect in the real world, what will tend to happen in the real world. That's what praxeology does.
That's what it attempts to do, but if you don't,
that's what it necessarily does.
Liquid, that's what it's attempting to do. That's what it's attempting to do. But if you don't ground
axioms
that,
are correct, and your axioms and the axioms in praxeology are undeniable,
right? But Liquid, that's
trying to deny them.
So what I'm trying to do.
Them, right?
So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to show that there, I'm reductio ad absurdum is what I'm essentially trying to do. I'm trying to prove that there are certain things that you're using that you're attempting to provide as though they make sense as a theoretical thing, but if they can't actually be shown in real life, then theoretically they would likely fail as well, unless you can provide some other reason why the USSR acted in the way that it did, why the North Korea acted in the way that it did, why Germany acted in the way that it did, why Mussolini, all of these different cases of close to monarchistic states acted in the way that did, which is materially distinct in the way that close to democracies generally act.
I mean, what axiom do you think I'm taking which doesn't align with the real world?
Well, I'm just so I'll just frame this as a question. Why do you think that there's this huge disconnect between the monarchies that we've actually seen in the real world and this theoretical monarchy that you're trying to describe?
I don't think there is. I think monarchies if you look at all monarchies throughout history, they tended to be more libertarian than democracies did, right? The US.
Do you think that's true in the modern day?
Yeah, well, not necessarily in the modern day, because we're like we're a democratic world, as Hoppe explains. Basically, like the US made World War I about monarchy versus democracy. They were going to overturn the monarchistic world order with a democratic world order, and they succeeded in that. So they overturned democracies all throughout Europe, and they turned the world into chaos. Everything from that point on has been the US has been instituting democracy over monarchy, and we have been fucking over monarchy ever since. And that's why we get the USSR. We wouldn't have the USSR without World War I. We wouldn't have North Korea without World War I. We wouldn't have Hitler without World War I. All of it would have just been an individual little scuffle between European powers, and it would have just been more
so you're saying
monarchistic
that
infighting.
Okay, so you're saying that the reason that Nazi Germany happened or the USSR happened, you're blaming that on democracy, specifically on America?
I'm saying that historically monarchies have tended to be more libertarian than democracies have. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I just don't. Okay, so there's sort of two things that there's sort of two directions that I can answer that point. The first one is bluntly, I don't care what system might have worked or might not have worked.
That's the entire debate.
In the 1400s. Of course, it's not the debate.
Okay, sure. Let's talk about the praxeology of it then. So it applies to every single date.
Let me
whether the year's 1400 or
point out both of
2100.
my points. If I could just point out both of my points. The first one is, if you're arguing about what's going on in the 1400s, I think that's a very different question than what's going on in the real world of today.
You asked for empiricism, though. You asked me to
Liquid Zulu. Let me fucking finish. Jesus Christ!
We're gonna have two interrupters today.
I would never interrupt. That would never happen.
Jonah, you're the worst. So coming from you is
Yeah, we're gonna get two of you today.
But just let him finish his point and we'll beat it up.
Fuck, I forgot my second point. God damn it. No, I remember it. No, I don't. God damn it. This is terrible. Fuck you, Liquid Zulu. Remind me what you just said.
You asked me for historicism.
Oh, yeah. Okay, shut the fuck up. I remember. I love you. Okay, so the first thing is, if you're arguing that that it's only about like what's going on in the 1400s, and you're saying that maybe this system worked better in the 1400s, like that's an argument. But then I would expect you to cede that in the 2020s and going forward, that democracy is the way to go until we're able to get to the sort of end system that you're proposing, that I'm proposing, which are obviously distinct end systems. But you'd have to cede that before I was willing to have the conversation just exclusively based on what made sense back in the 1400s. The second conversation, though, is about the sort of base question of why you think back in the 1400s that was better. If I look at Athens and I look at Greece more broadly, or I look at the early Roman Republic, I think those are systems that are much more comfortable to live under than it is to live under a late Roman Empire, or to live under any number of rules of the barbarians of Gaul, right?
Are you done?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So you asked me for historic data to back up my praxeologic argument. And then I gave you the historic data, and you're like, "Well, that only works in history." But you asked me for historic data. That's what you asked for. You asked for empiricism there. So if we want to get rid of the empiricism there, let's look at the praxeologic case. And the praxeologic argument is that a leader who has only a short time to reap the capital value of his nation is tending towards a higher time preference than a leader who has his entire life and can pass it on to his children to reap the capital value of his nation. Do you dispute that at all?
If their goal is to I think you're correct that people who are concerned about the long term are long term better than the people who are concerned about the short term. Yes.
But that's my entire argument, right? That the monarch who is concerned about the long term is going to be more libertarian than the person who's concerned about the short term.
Okay.
Right?
So you first, do you grant in terms of the 2020s that this is a different argument?
I grant that it just so happens that basically what I say is the US is better in spite of its democracy, not because of it. It just so happens. There are many other factors at play. There are many other variables at play. We have not kept all of the variables equal in the development of the US as opposed to, say, China, right? Because China is basically a monarchy at this point. All the variables are not equal. There are many other variables at play.
Wait, so you're saying that we would be better equipped to go into the future if we were more like Xi Jinping and less like...
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you could only control whether your society was a monarchy or a democracy, you ought to pick the monarchy over the democracy. Okay. It will tend to be more libertarian.
Okay, so this first argument that you're providing is essentially it's better, like you're better equipped to be focused on the long term. With
no, the ruler is.
The ruler is more equipped to be thinking about the long term than the short term. Not just
equipped, that they will tend to care more about the long term because they actually can reap the value in the long term, whereas a Democrat can.
Is this an argument for long term power, or is this an argument for dynastic rule?
It's an argument that a monarchistic ruler will want to take less from the nation over time because he's low time preference. He wants to reap as little value as possible to keep the nation's capital value as high as possible.
This
because
isn't
he
an
actually
answer to my
cares about
question.
that.
Is this? So your answer is yes. It's an argument for dynastic politics.
It's an argument for dynastic rule over democratic rule.
That's not my question though. My question is this better? Is this an argument? Like you can either have a king, right, who is able to give his throne to his son at the end of his life, or you can have a king who was voted into office but then stays king until he dies, and then a new king gets voted into office, right? Is this an argument for either one of those, or is this an argument specifically for a dynastic version of that?
The dynastic version would be preferable to the other version, but either version would be preferable to democracy.
Why?
Because that way he has lower time preference, ceteris paribus.
So because you're concerned that he wouldn't be as focused on what he's leaving to someone who's not his kid?
Basically, if I have no offspring, if I have nobody to leave anything to, my time preference as I near my death will tend upwards. Whereas if I have people to leave stuff to, my time preference will not necessarily tend upwards. So if you compare the two, somebody who has heirs will tend to be lower time preference than those who don't have heirs.
Okay. So I'm concerned about a king. This hypothetical king doesn't have any heirs. I'm concerned about this king because this king is going to be someone who is just not going to care about the future because he's in his 70s.
Kind of like a Democrat.
Okay. So he's in his 70s, and he's going to die soon, and he has no kids. Is that a problem in your mind, in your system?
It would be preferable to have somebody who does have children, but
he has no. Yeah, I'm saying like you're saying something that's hereditary, right? So he doesn't have kids. He got to his 70s.
But your system necessitates somebody who doesn't have kids and is
I don't agree
4
with that.
years from their death. That is what you necessitate. You necessitate that high.
I don't agree with that,
person.
but let's just
my system
just answer my question.
My system might might have somebody who's high time preference every so often. Your system necessitates it. So if you're worried about the king who doesn't have any children, you want the king who doesn't have any children because then some new king gets voted in. That's what you want.
Okay, so if you could just answer the question, do you think that would be a problem for your system? How would your system adapt if that happened?
It depends what you mean by a problem. I think having a king is a problem, right?
Sure. I think that having a president is sure. Obviously, that's true. But my question is, do you think that would be a serious flaw and would result in a power vacuum that might result in the end of the structure of the institution?
It would tend to not happen, as we have seen by dynasties lasting for fucking thousands of years. It tends to be the case when I have a lot of stuff to give. I want to have children to keep that stuff going on, right? That tends to be the case.
Okay, but if and when that
sometimes
fails,
it might not be the case, and then somebody else takes the monarchy, right?
Okay, so
like my steward will take it or whatever.
That is a possible failure.
It's definitely a possibility, but your system necessitates it.
So
right?
I disagree.
It necessitates
that my system
somebody else takes it.
So I disagree that my system,
after 4 years, somebody else is going to take over the throne.
So I disagree that my system necessitates it. What I would describe my system as is a closer to decentralized system of ownership. Right. So when I think about a democracy, I actually don't think that Biden controls America. I think Biden's kind of fucking stupid. And I think Biden is pretty replaceable. He was replaced literally today by Kamala Harris, and no one gives a fuck.
That's because he gave it
Twitter. Sure. But my point, though, is in 4 years or in 8 years, he will be replaced by some new dude or some new dudette. And that person will continue to control America, and that won't destroy America. Now, the reason I think that's going to happen is because when I think about what America is and how it functions as a system, I would argue that the reason that it functions is because we have the power dispersed between a huge number of millions of people who are voting, right? Well over 100 million people voted in the last election. And so the vast majority of those people do have kids, do have a future, do have something to be concerned about. And so whether or not Joe Biden cares about his children, which I think he probably doesn't, whether or not Donald Trump cares about his children, which other than Ivanka, he clearly doesn't care about any of his children, right? I don't think this is a problem, right? I think this is going to be, I think they're bad. I think that most people who want to have that kind of power are probably bad people as a general rule of thumb. But I don't actually care because the result is that the power that they have is only something that they're able to maintain by maintaining the respect and the desire for their continued leadership of many millions of people who suck significantly less.
But when they're in their second term, they don't give a shit whether people care about them, right?
Of course they do.
Why would they? They don't care about re-election.
They don't care about the re-election of their party? What are you talking about?
No,
they
can't get re-elected. Why the fuck would they care?
Because they care about their legacy?
Oh my god, your legacy. Would they care more about their legacy or potentially reaping the entire capital value of the nation? Which do you think they care more about?
I think broadly their legacy.
You are naive. Jesus.
No, I'm not.
You think
how many American
let's imagine person X is in control of the entire US. They can reap whatever the fuck they want from the US.
That's not how the presidency works. Stop. That's a lie.
Let's imagine a hypothetical, right?
No. You can't imagine that hypothetical because that's not the system I'm proposing.
Okay, right. So let's imagine Joe Biden in his second term. He somehow managed to limp into his second term, right? He can implement a new law which would, I don't know, do some sort of spending bill where some company he has stocks in would get a bunch of money because they're like a welfare recipient or whatever, right? Do you think he would care more about his legacy for the fucking 3 more years he'll live? Or do you think he'll care more about getting all that money for his children?
If he were able to get that passed, I think that there's a very real probability that he might try to do it. Yes. However, I don't think he'd be able to get that passed. However, I don't think he'd be able to get that passed because
then you're naive.
Because I think that in order to get anything passed in our system, we have checks and balances. We have multiple systems, right? We have the Congress, we have the Senate, we have the Supreme Court, we have governors, we have state houses, we have lots of different people.
I'll tell you what I do if I'm Joe Biden. I say to all those guys,
can I finish my point? No, you're interrupting me. How dare you interrupt me? I would never do that. I would never interrupt. I would never interrupt anyone ever.
Never interrupt, so you shouldn't do it either, okay? Go ahead, Jonah.
Fuck. I lost my train of thought.
This is a tactic, okay? And Todd
that's why I do it.
Todd would do it to me. He would fucking interrupt on purpose just so you lose your train of thought. Quick move. I don't think Zulu's doing it on purpose. I think he's just drunk and fucking rowdy today. But
yeah, it's okay. We're both sort of. We're not. Neither one of us are sending our best. Yeah. Okay. Fuck. What were you just saying that was so rudely interrupting me?
I was saying how, if I was Joe Biden, I would just fucking.
Oh, I remember you. No, fuck you. I remember my thing. No, fuck you. It's my turn.
I would just say to these politicians, hey,
let him have it.
All right, here's my point.
If you wanna care about this, right? Invest in this business, and I'm gonna put a bunch of money towards them.
Here's my point. Here is my point. In order for that to be possible, you'd have to be electing a king. We're not electing a king. We're electing someone who has a lot of checks and lots of balances on his power, right? No one in our country is even remotely as important as the king was in a kingdom. Right? People are like, oh, the most important position in the world is the American president. No, that shit is bullshit. Okay, lots of people are more important than the U.S. president. Okay, the ruler of Russia is more important. The ruler of China is more important. The ruler of North Korea is more important. North Korea is the size of New Jersey. Okay, we don't actually care about North Korea, but the ruler of North Korea, the actual true ruler of North Korea, who genuinely controls the totality, is way more powerful. Biden is not that powerful because Biden can't do anything without the consent of the governed and without the consent of all of the other checks and balances within the system. So when you're saying, oh, Biden might be a schmuck and Biden might go off and do some terrible things, I just like to throw in Jew words because I know that the chat loves it. When he is like doing terrible things, it's not as serious a problem as when a king does like bad things, because the king has the capacity to do so much more bad shit than the president ever could.
Imagine I'm Joe Biden. Hey guys, let's implement this law that puts money towards this thing that we all have stocks in. If you don't have stocks in it, buy stocks in it right now. You think that wouldn't get passed?
Wait, say that again?
Hey guys, by the way, I'm Joe Biden, right? I'm gonna sign this bill, and it's going to put money towards this thing we all have stocks in, say Lockheed Martin or something. Would you not all just accept that bill because you all have stocks in Lockheed Martin?
Yeah, for sure. Do you think that's not true in the case
sure.
of? Wait.
So
Do you not think that that's the case of what Saudi Arabia is doing in relation to oil right now?
Of what relevance is this?
That Saudi Arabia is a dictatorship and that they're doing it right now.
You want to do a time preference argument?
Yeah.
Do you have a counter to my time preference argument then?
Say it again.
You have a counter to my time preference argument.
I haven't accounted for your.
Do you have a counter to my time preference argument?
Yeah, I've just laid it out. What I just laid out. What are you talking about?
What was that then?
That there's a difference between someone who has absolute control and someone who doesn't have absolute control, that has limited capacity because we have a constitution. Because there's lots of different systems that hold the checks and balances.
Hey guys, let's implement a law that puts money towards this thing that we have all put our stocks into.
Right. So you're proposing something that would have to be in the interest of every single judge, every single senator, every single congressperson. Yes, it is required, or at the very least, a majority of all of those individual houses.
But they all know that they'd make money from it. Would they not be tending towards putting money into
Liquid? Isn't that true? Isn't that true of, like, if you're proposing that there is a possibility under a democracy that something could get done that is in the interest of all of the senators and all of the Congress people and all of the courts and all of the governors and if they invest in it, sure. And you're proposing that is a possibility. My response would be, yeah, that's absolutely a possibility. That's the reason we have all of these checks and balances. And that's the reason that we vote on all of them. Wait. And that's also the reason. Wait. And that's also the reason that we vote for these people, and we vote for these people literally every single 2 years, right? In the case of local officials, we vote for them every single year, right? And so the result of this is that the vast majority of things that are in the interest of those people, not just in their financial interest, but also in their interest of getting reelected into the positions that they're on, is generally going to be relatively in line with their constituents, with the public. That's different than the people who don't have the same obligations to the public.
Sure, guys, let's invest in Poor Investment Inc. It's going to invest in poor people. So all the poor people will vote for us for investing in this stuff. And then we're going to give a bunch of money towards Poor Investment.
Who do we think
we're going to give a bunch of money to Poor Investment Inc. And Poor Investment Inc. stocks will go up. So we'll make a bunch of money there, right?
Investing in poor people is a good thing. What are you talking about?
As opposed to what people would normally invest in? You like tax?
I like investing in poor people because we get more money back than we put into them. No, I want to maximally exploit the poor.
You don't
what
like
are you
tax?
talking about? No, I want to maximally exploit the poor.
Do you like tax or not?
No. In order to maximally exploit the poor,
not yes or no.
Wait. In order to maximally exploit the poor, we must educate the poor in order that they can provide us the most wealth and capacity for learning and capacity for art and capacity for science and sports ball and all of those things that they possibly can, such that we can get the most benefit from their existence within our society. This is obviously correct.
I hate poor people. I don't want to invest in them.
Okay. And therefore, we should have a poorly functioning system because you just hate the poor.
We should have no system. We should have
okay, but that's not what we're arguing. We're arguing how do we have the system that we have? We can't just say,
is a low time preference system.
Liquid. You can't just say, I don't want to have a system and just keep on dropping high tax. We've both addressed that we have a long-term goal that is separate than either one of these things in the short term.
The low time preference
I would never interrupt.
Right. No, let's get back to that. Because I think it was a good point when we brought up Saudi Arabia. It did kind of, and I don't want to interject right? You do see how that could be beneficial, Jonah, right?
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
Okay, so we were talking about time preference and we got into Saudi Arabia and then you forgot, or either Zulu asked you a question to get you off of that. So can we go back to that, to why that would possibly be beneficial to, right, the dynastic system, handing something down to your children as opposed to not handing something? And then Zulu, I'll pick something up off of you about the Hunter Biden thing, because maybe we don't want kids. So anyway, go ahead.
Okay.
You go ahead, Jonah.
Oh, that's a good point, Todd. I hadn't thought about that one. So So the large problem with something like Saudi Arabia is that their leadership sucks. and they're like genuinely stupid, you know? And the capacity to have really smart people in office in a democratic system, there's like, you're never going to have a smart person be president. It's just never going to happen. Like, I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. You're always going to have someone as president who's like relatively a little bit stupid, you know, not profoundly stupid, but not like actually intelligent. If you're talking about a monarchy, you have sometimes a chance that maybe you're going to have someone who's a really good monarch, right? And that happens once in a blue moon. But the vast majority of people who are going to come to power are going to be complete imbeciles, okay? Because the majority of people on Earth are complete imbeciles. You would agree with this, obviously. That's why you're an ANCAP. And so, like, of course, the majority of these people, if you have all of your power held by only a few people in these circles, they'll start off as elite circles because they're the ones who were able to kill everyone in order to come to power. Obviously, those people deserve to be in control because they murdered lots of people. Murderers should be, they make great leaders, obviously. But once the murder leaders all die, now you're just left with the children of the murderers and the children's children of the murderers, and the children's children of the children of the murderers aren't as good at being leaders as the murderers themselves.
Sure. So you say we want dumb people in charge, right? Would you
No, I'm saying
that?
I want people who are mediocre in charge, because
But
the alternative.
You wouldn't want a smart person in charge, right?
No, I'd
smart.
If I could guarantee to myself that I had a smart person in charge all the time, that would be great, but we can't do it.
Sure, but a smart person in charge, they're going to necessarily know that they can take from the nation, right? You want an idiot leader, because we're both anarchists, aren't we?
I'm saying
an idiot leader you could easily overthrow.
For sure. If you wait, that's an argument for my argument.
But you would agree.
You're pointing out something that's
would you not agree?
I agree. You're making a
that
separate point that I didn't make.
Leader.
You're making a separate point that I made.
Guys.
Todd,
would you?
I think we just have to embrace this is going to happen, but I love you.
So you would agree that we need an idiot leader? That would be
okay. So you're pointing out that there's two separate concerns. One concern is a leader who is genuinely imbecile.
Would you agree?
Right? Wait, Liquid. I'm trying to answer. Okay, so there's two concerns. One concern, right, is an imbecile leader, and the other concern is an evil leader. Okay. Now, imbecile leader is a problem because they might just destroy the economy.
We could overtake them
by
easily.
accident. By accident. No, that's not necessarily true.
More easily than a smart leader.
Not necessarily true. If there's someone who's an idiot like George Bush, I can vote them out and then ta-da, they're gone. And I never have to think about them again until Trump comes to office.
Vote them out. Just vote in the most important elections of our lives, guys. And then it'll all be fine.
Yes, we should vote.
Just vote in the most important elections of our lives.
Yes, Liquid. We should vote.
Fine.
Voting is a good thing. I don't
know. It'll all be fine.
Okay, so that's my solution. But if you have an idiot who's in charge and you can't get rid of the idiot, this is a serious problem. Okay, so that's the first thing about the idiot.
But if it's an idiot, would you not prefer an idiot over a smart guy?
Wait. So now this is the question. There's a smart guy, but there's two kinds of smart guys. There's the good smart guy and there's the devious smart guy. Okay, so the good smart guy, yes, the good smart guy is great. If I could have a good smart guy consistently, if I could have Anakin Skywalker control America, I would love to have Anakin Skywalker control America. The problem is that then he turns into Darth Vader. Okay, spoiler alert, I'm sorry. Okay, so I don't want Darth Vader to control America because he is evil, okay? And we do not support Darth Vader, okay? And so the solution to Darth Vader is that we need to not have these dictators because it's not going to consistently be, okay, Anakin. It's going to become Vader one point or another, okay? Even if Anakin's son is Kylo Ren, that's a problem.
You done?
Yeah, go for it.
So yeah, I'd bring up that you aren't addressing the time preference argument.
What are you talking about? That's exactly what I just did.
You didn't.
Ah!
You didn't address the time preference argument. Oh, I want you to steel man the time preference argument.
The time preference argument is that you're concerned that people who are going in directly into office hail Vader. Oh my goodness, you people are the worst. You literally make I'm just trying to talk about space Nazis, and then you just talk about literal Nazis. It's the worst. This chat is terrible. Okay. Anyway, I love you all. I love most of you. Anyway, fuck. What was I just saying? I got distracted by chat.
Remind me time preference argument.
Yes.
I want you to tell me the time preference argument.
Time preference argument. You're essentially arguing that you're concerned that the Democratic leader is not going to be concerned about the long term, they're going to be concerned about the short term. To which I generally agree that they are more concerned about the short term. But I'd also argue that in the case of a bad person in leadership as a monarch, they're also concerned about the short term. I think that short term thinking is just a reality of the vast majority of systems, right?
What's the tendency?
The tendency this is the problem. You're not willing to look at the tendency that exists in real life. So if I'm trying to explain
tendency is purely logical.
No, that's not true. You have to look. Okay, you have to be able to look. You have to be able to look at real life. You can't just say, I don't care about real life. We're talking about real life systems. What the fuck are you talking about? You're making nonsense. You're spreading lies. You're spreading lies.
All I care about is the logic. Do you not understand praxeology?
I understand it. It's just stupid.
So if you understand praxeology, you should understand what I say when I mean when I say that we don't have to look to historicism, right? Because historically, it might be the case that something is true, but that is not relevant at all, right?
It's okay. You can't say it's not relevant at all. If you want to say it's not the only thing that is worth discussing,
and I did, and I am correct.
No. You said it, but it was a lie, and you must cease ridiculousness. No, you are spreading lies. Okay,
I'm correct.
No, you are wrong. All right, I don't want to make this exclusively a matter of me.
Incorrect.
Tell them why you're right. Yeah, go ahead and tell them why you're right.
Yeah, go for
it. Why I'm correct is because if I only have a limited amount of time to reap the capital resources of a certain nation, I'm going to want to reap as much as possible in that amount of time, right? Is that correct? Do you agree with that?
If you have the capacity to do so, yeah, of course.
Whoa, but I'm the leader. I can.
That's literally my whole point. I don't want to have one leader. I think leaders suck. I think all of them suck. My whole point is that I don't want one leader. I want to have a system of checks and balances. That's the whole fucking point.
Whatever I'm able to reap in that amount of time, I'm going to want to reap in that amount of time.
That's true of literally anyone in any position all of the time. That's why I want to have checks and balances instead of one dictator.
So whatever I'm able to reap in that amount of time, I'm going to
as
reap
dictator.
In that amount of time.
Correct. So you're making it.
As anybody, I'm going to want to reap as much as I can in that amount of time.
I agree with this. Right? So you're making it. I agree with
if I have a large amount of time to reap those benefits, an amount of time which is possibly extending beyond my lifetime, I'm going to be lower time preference than if I have 5 seconds, right?
I agree with this. This is why.
Is correct.
However,
so
no.
Somebody who has
my answer is that you are positive. No, I've already heard you. I'm done listening.
No, you've not listened to the entire argument.
I have heard the argument. Okay, go for it.
No. You've not.
I'm ready. I will sit quietly. I'm ready.
So somebody who has a limited amount of time to reap the resources of their nation, compared to somebody who has a large amount of time, possibly extending beyond their lifetime, to reap the resources of their nation. The person who has a limited amount of time is going to be higher time preference than the person who has a large amount of time. Is that correct or incorrect?
Okay, so it's my turn.
Is it correct or incorrect? Just say yes or no.
It is correct. I will now give
It is correct. Then we win.
So no. Shut the fuck up.
I just won.
You're making lies. You're making lies. I need you to sit quietly. I was very good and polite. It's my turn.
That was the debate, though.
I was very good and polite. It's my turn. You need to be sitting quietly. Sit quietly. Shh. It's okay. Okay.
I mean, I just won. Sure.
No. I agreed to one component of the thing, but you're not focusing on the larger problem, which is that you're concerned about one simple question. If you have a long period of time, does that give you more time to be able to get benefit out of your system? To which the answer is obviously, of course. There's a second question, which is how much capacity should you have to extract value from the system? To which my answer is a small amount. And your answer seems to be a large amount. My answer is that I am concerned about this long-term issue, right? And I am concerned about, this is why I don't want to have elections literally every single week. I want to have elections every 4 years in the case of the president. I want to have elections every single 6 years in the case of the governor, 2 years in the case of Congress, right? Like there are differences and there should be differences in terms of different positions in the system, but there should be elections not every single day. Obviously that is the true, that is the case. However, I want to have these systems of checks and balances. When you have a monarchy, you don't have these systems of checks and balances. I want the systems of checks and balances. I deserve the systems of checks and balances, and this is necessary in order to function.
You didn't actually address the argument, though.
No, I'm saying that there are two. There could be two things that are true at once. One, that having longer periods of time when you're the one who's in control is important in some cases. Yes, that's true. And two, it's important that people. These are not like mutually contradictory points. And two, that it's important that that you have these checks and balances on these systems of power. Right? Those are two separate points.
But you haven't addressed the fact that a person who's a Democrat is going to be higher time preference than a person.
You haven't and you haven't addressed the issue of checks and balances.
But do you agree with that though?
Do you agree with the checks and balances?
Checks and balances. I don't know what that means, but sure. Yeah,
I just explained it. What are you talking about? You don't know what it means.
If you have checks and balances, then yeah, it'll be better than if you don't have checks and balances, whatever. Right.
So you do want checks and balances.
Do you agree? I would rather have checks and balances if those checks and balances incur libertarianism than if they.
We're not talking about pure libertarianism. We're talking about a system that we have currently. That's explicitly something we both tried to grant at the beginning of this entire conversation. Sure.
So do you want to actually address the debate here?
Yeah, that's what we were just doing.
So would you rather have would the system rather be where you have a monarchy, which will tend to be low time preference, or a democracy, which will tend to be high time preference? Do you dispute any of that? Do you dispute that democracies will tend to be higher time preference than monarchies? Do you dispute that?
Okay. I've already answered
that.
This. No.
Yes or no? Do you dispute that?
I've already answered this.
That. Then I'm correct. I win the argument.
You don't win the argument. I've agreed to that point. There was never a point where I disagreed with that point.
But the fact that it's lower time preference to be a monarchy means that's more libertarian, right?
No.
Why not?
Because long-term thinking and libertarian don't mean the same thing. What are you talking about?
But if I'm a ruler and I have a low time preference, right, I'm going to want to reap as little from the nation as possible.
No.
So I'm going to tax.
No.
I don't think you understand economics.
No, it's not. Listen, if people were strictly rational,
I want you to
I have said,
steel man low time preference for me.
Okay, I'm not going to steel man your shit because you literally don't even understand my shit.
Tell me what low time preference means.
No, I'm not going to. I already have explained what it is. You've already explained it. I've already explained it. I'm not going to make your argument for you.
I don't think you understand what low time preference means.
You're getting annoying.
I don't think you understand what that means.
I do understand what it means. I love you. You're making lies. Okay.
Tell me what low time preference means.
Jesus Christ, I've just explained it. Low time.
Explain it right now.
Low time preference means that you're focused on the short term, not the long term. That's what it means.
You're wrong.
What does it mean?
Low time preference means you're focused on the long term, not the short term. If I'm low If I'm low time preference, I care about 10 potatoes in the future.
Yeah, sure.
I will plant a potato right now to get 10 potatoes in the future. If I'm high time preference, I'll have a potato now.
Okay, sure. You're defining it in the opposite direction. Sure, that's fine.
So you're wrong, right?
No.
You were wrong,
I wasn't paying attention. I got to be honest. I wasn't paying attention to you with my full heart.
Exactly.
And so, yes, I got the wording incorrect, but I don't think that the point that you're making is a simple point.
I think you're just entirely wrong, though.
I defined what you were saying. I defined it in the opposite sense. I did. I defined it in the opposite sense, which shows that I understood what you were saying, but that I was saying in the opposite way. Because I wasn't paying attention with you. And also, I'm kind of a little bit, just a little bit at the moment.
I'm very much, but
I support your ness. Okay. So, anyway, fuck. What were we saying?
I was saying
time preference.
Oh yeah. Okay, so the time preference is not the
nation will tend to be more libertarian than a high time preference nation.
So you're assuming a couple of things. The time preference, in a perfect system where everyone was strictly actually going in what is in their own self-interest, and you are defining have you watched Foundation? You seem like a kind of person who would enjoy Foundation because you're
don't know
you're
what that means.
Okay, so it's on Apple TV and you'd really enjoy it. I think you should watch this television show. Anyway, so in Foundation, there's this perfect line of like kings that are literally genetic clones of each other that are around for tens of thousands of years. They are very much what you're describing. I appreciate your burp. Your burp was a fantastic burp. So they're very much what you're describing here, right? They're very much like in line with this ideology of like they're really smart. They're like very much focused on the long term, not the short term.
I don't think the kings are smart.
No, I know, but these kings are smart. I'm just describing Foundation for you.
I don't necessarily like them to be smart. I want them to be dumb.
Okay, fine. So
I think
fine.
the fact that sometimes they'll be dumb is good.
Okay, cool. Anyway, yeah, so they're all like identical, and they're very much concerned about the long term, right? They're not concerned about the short term. That is not how actual systems like this work in practice, because in practice, a huge proportion of these people don't give a shit about their kids. They're terrible fathers. They're terrible mothers. All they care about is themselves. All they care about is when can I next scootily poop. All they care about is when can I next get high. All they care about is all of this nonsense. Okay, there are a lot of Hunter Bidens that exist in these dynastic policies. I wanted to throw you a bone, Todd, because I knew you would appreciate that particular statement.
You're making a great argument against high time preference leaders.
No. I'm making a good argument against these monarchies, because these monarchies, right, often are going to have people come into control that are not concerned about the long term. They're concerned about the short term. Only if they were genuinely self-interest in the genetic line would they be interested in the long term. You have to have people like Tywin Lannister, but not everyone's Tywin Lannister. Some people are fucking Cersei, okay? And it's a problem.
Right. Would you prefer a high time preference leader or a low time preference leader?
The low time preference leader, the one who's
prefer the low time preference leader,
right? But that doesn't mean monarchy, because the monarchies don't always do that.
The monarchy would tend to be lower time preference than the democracy, right?
You're not willing to look at the actual systems that actually exist in real life, because all of them disagree with you.
Not all of them.
With the exception of the Egyptian Empire. With the exception of the Egyptian Empire, and
wrong, right?
Maybe Rome. I literally can't think of a single
I showed this early
case.
on in the debate that most monarchies.
You said the 1400s were not shit, but all of the ones that are in modern history.
So do you want to look at Do you want to look at historicism, or do you want to look at the praxeologic general case?
I want to look at modern historicism. I want to look at historicism among those that are actually. Modern counts as ones that are generally somewhat approximating the system that we actually have today. So post-industrialization.
How many years?
Yeah, post-industrialization. So like past the 1900s.
How many years? 1920s. Which year is fine for you going on?
1920s-ish onwards.
Why that?
I think that seems reasonable. Because I'm just trying to get to post-industrialization.
But why that
year? So it's different in different places, right? So like I wouldn't count certain places. Yeah, I'm trying to explain. But you keep on interrupting. How dare you? I would never do this to you. Okay?
That year.
I'm trying to explain, Liquid, but you keep on interrupting. So I cannot explain. I must explain.
I know you're not going to explain.
No, I am. My answer is I'm trying to. Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! I'm trying to.
Give the case against 1910s. Give the case against 1910s.
That's what I'm trying to do. Jesus Christ!
Okay, case against 1910s. Here we go.
Right, stop, Zulu.
Case against 1910s. Here we
I'm
go.
trying
to get his point out.
Who do you think you are? You're the worst, and I love
against
you so
1910s.
Okay.
Here we go.
I'm trying to explain, but you keep on interrupting.
So rudely
you're interrupting. I'm trying to explain. Okay, I don't actually care about the year. What I care about is the way that these systems actually function. So I would look at a system that is post-industrialized. Can you fucking let me finish my fucking point? Jesus fucking Christ! Okay.
We're talking about the 1910s.
I'm trying to explain.
You don't care about the year, then
point. I already told you I don't care about the year. I made up the year 1920 so that you would shut the fuck up to let me explain the fucking thing. Okay?
If you made it up, then it's not going to work.
Okay. I'm trying to explain what I actually care about as the distinction, which is the distinction between post-industrialization and prior to industrialization. Why do I care about that? Because there's a huge difference in the way that our economy functions today in America of today, or in Saudi Arabia of today, or of China today, comparative to the way that systems functioned prior to industrialization, because we have a decentralization of industry in a way that we've never had in the history of the world, and because we have new versions of industry that are very distinct from the industries that existed prior. So that makes it so we're very different from those systems. So there are cases where there are some countries that are not actually very similar to ours at all, because those, even today, perhaps, because those systems haven't gotten to a point where they're post-industrialized. And there are systems that are relatively early that were industrialized. So there's some, in the case of the 1920s, that would count. But I would argue that early USSR wouldn't count. And I would argue perhaps that early No, I would count North Korea from the time that North Korea was founded. I would count them, but certainly in the case of the USSR, the time that the USSR was founded, they were not an industrialized country, and so therefore I wouldn't count them to be included in the description that I'm making. But I would by the time that they had finished being the USSR, because by that point they had in fact industrialized.
Okay, but what about that just to address my argument?
I'm trying to, Jesus Christ.
You didn't actually address the argument.
I'm trying to explain what makes a system.
You can explain all you want.
That I think is parallel to our own system. And therefore, I'm saying that this is the example. A post-industrialized system is similar to our system because we're also post-industrialized.
I need to ask you this. Do you
I'm
dispute praxeology?
Categorically, no. I think that there's a place for it, but I think I certainly dispute the idea that that's the only thing that's relevant and the only thing that we need.
Sure, but if praxeology were to show something, you'd agree with it, right?
I just want to point out, I just did a small burp, but my burp was a quiet burp. Okay, I want you to practice your burping so you can have pride. You need to work on your burps. Your burps are too loud. They're too loud, your burps. Okay. Fuck. What was your question? I was interrupted by my own burp.
You dispute praxeology.
I'm out of here.
Let's just go to questions. I feel like we've devolved into.
Yeah,
all right.
Questions, people. I don't even know if we have any. What does this come to?
All right, I will cede one thing. He certainly has a better burp than I do. I will cede that much.
Oh my god! All
Winning.
right. Let's see. I mean, do we even have any questions? I haven't. I've not been paying attention.
Oh my god.
Let's see. Hold on. Send them in. Otherwise, hold on.
Do people still believe in Jesus? This is from Ed Rogers. Yeah, some people do.
Absolutely, we do, Ed. And you should too.
Yeah.
It's Jesus.
Yeah.
Jonah, don't you dare
a
answer.
lot of people believe in Jesus, of course. Let me see. No, there's not a lot of questions, just a lot of talking shit.
No, so here, let's go back real quick. Do you, Jonah? So
Yeah,
what
in
his open, he says that monarchy preserves the capital value to pass on to the kids. You would agree with that, right? I mean, or maybe you would.
Yeah, I would agree, but I would also
open.
I would agree on a decentralized level that's also true of a democracy. And I think that the reason that democracies function is because the vast majority of people who are voting either are themselves parents or are emotionally involved with parents and are concerned about the futures for the generations that come after them.
The leader isn't, right?
Often the leader is. So the example is our current president. The current president is a parent, and also
but he can't pass it on to his children.
And also Obama was a parent, and also Clinton was a parent, and also Bush was a parent,
can't pass it
and
on.
also previous Bush was a parent, and also
but you can't pass it on.
You're passing on America. You're not. There are multiple things to pass on other than literal ownership. They're part of our country.
Unable to pass on the leadership.
They're part of the country.
It's not owned in his mind.
My kids are going to be American, regardless of whether I get to literally sell them America.
What are you, a fucking bleeding heart? Like, he cares about making as much money as he can. Right? He can't pass it on to his children. He cannot pass the leadership on to his children. All he can do is reap as much capital value as he can in the short term. That's all he can do.
I don't know what's happening either. But I appreciate him. I appreciate him with a great deal of respect and love. And I'm glad that you're drunk this time. The first time when we talked, it was a very normal and civil conversation. And this was civil too.
Celebrating that Kyle Rittenhouse. Why don't we just talk about Kyle Rittenhouse?
This was civil.
Yeah, let's go to Kyle.
Let's do it.
So
I saw the tweet,
all right. Can we just have a talk? Can we just have a talk? Okay, here's my talk. I don't know why you people care. I don't know why so many people on the internet give a flying fuck about this issue.
Because it's self-defense, Jonah. It's the most vital fucking right that we are given.
No.
Yeah. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness.
This is nonsense. Okay, this is nonsense. I will describe why. Because no, I don't care about
I'll just bring
Kyle.
up time value.
Have you met Kyle?
Look at him, point at him, and say evil. Point at him.
No, but seriously, like, can we talk about the larger issue? Like, the larger issue is like, how should police function? How should our court systems function? All of that stuff. But we just use these
Nothing to do
flashpoints.
with this case.
Okay, so then what is this case about? Why do you care about this?
Protecting oneself. It was simple. Listen,
Todd,
all right.
Todd,
You're
Here you go.
lying.
You ready?
You're lying.
Guns are my number one issue.
Todd,
Number one
you're
issue.
lying.
Number one issue.
You're lying. How many
Number one issue.
How many murder cases have there been in the United States of America in the last year?
I don't know,
5.
probably 7,000, 8,
Sure.
7 to 9,000.
How many of the defendants can you name?
5.
I can name 5. There you go.
Okay. Do you think there's a reason that you care about this particular case more than all of the other 7,000 cases?
No, I don't care. Whoa, I know it's divide and conquer. Hold on. I know the fucking psyop. I'm just telling you that today, fucking, we got to win for self-defense, and we're allowed to defend ourselves.
It's
the
a Second
most
Amendment
vital.
case. The gun
It's a fucking gun. I'm a gun person. I'm a gun nut.
I want to be very clear. I agree on the actual case. Like, this is the correct judgment for it. The prosecution was disgusting and like probably should be disbarred, honestly. At least the guy who sent that like fake fucking video that wasn't the actual video, that was the original version of the video. You should get disbarred for that shit. That is unacceptable shit.
And
but,
MSNBC following the fucking jury to obviously intimidate the fucking jury. This is
I don't know, but I haven't paid attention
fascism
to what
from the
MSNBC
left.
was doing. If MSNBC is bad, then
Take
MSNBC
a
is
bar
bad.
from the freaking courtroom. Oh, that's a low moment for MSNBC, you guys.
Right. And you had that burned into your TV, Brady.
Shut up!
Low
Not
moment for
me.
you as well. Anyway.
What do you mean, Jonah's only correct take? No, put
Don't
nobody's
read chat.
117 on the screen. I must bully nobody's 117. Jonah's
go
only
ahead,
correct
chat.
take. All of my takes are correct. All of my takes are correct. Okay.
Not
Anyway,
the ones which
Nobody's
disagree with
been
me.
in fire.
That's right. Not on time preference.
But yeah, anyway, so like I do think that like this is the correct ruling for the case, but I just think it's weird that so many people are so constantly concerned about these like very specific flashpoint cases rather than talk about the broader question. Like the broader questions I think are much more important ultimately.
What's the broader question?
Would you rather have monarchy or democracy?
Shut up.
Yes, nice segue, Zulu. Let's get back into it.
No, I refuse. I refuse. Okay.
You're
It's fucking over, you guys.
Oh my God.
What's the broader question?
Yeah, the broader questions. So like, there's a broad question in terms of BLM around how police should function. There's a broad question. Oh, there's a super chat. What's a KRW? Todd, I feel like you're supposed to know this. What's a KRW?
No, I think you would know better than me, Jonah. Don't. Come on, you know.
No, you've bullied me in the past for knowing all this.
You know what it converts to exactly the U.S. dollar.
I don't know what KRW is. I only happen to know for New Zealand. Oh my God!
Whoa! No, that's not.
hatred,
No, because he's
animosity.
at Carnegie Mellon. No. It's because he's a scholar. See, you guys see it's because he's at one of the most prestigious universities in the United States. That's why I said it. Wow!
Precisely.
Come on.
Yeah.
No, spinning true, Jonah. Keep it up, bud. Okay.
Wow.
Wait,
who is
that's
that
a-
fan?
that's a
Yeah, who is
pro-me?
that?
That's a pro me super chat.
Yeah.
I'm
He
Yeah,
sent
so
that
you've
in
never
himself.
had one of those. We should take
He
a
sent
moment
them
and
in
like
himself.
really soak it in.
Yeah.
shocked and chagrined.
Yeah. That was a big moment.
Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so like I think that the issue around police brutality is a real issue. I think the issue around like should we have for example, should there be stop and frisk? That's a real issue. I think there's a real issue around body cameras. I think there's a real issue around whether or not civil asset forfeitures should be legal. They should not be legal. I think there's a real question. All of those things are like valid, real issues. But I don't think that I actually care about like the individual issue of this individual case, one-on-one cases, to the extent that I think a lot of people sort of artificially focus on them in ways that I think are a little bit odd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't watched any of the case whatsoever, so I haven't really been. I don't know what's going on. I just know it's beyond.
You're missing nothing. You're missing nothing. This has no effect on the future of America.
But I do know that everybody
It
on
really
Twitter is
does,
going
though.
bananas about this, and the streamers are going to be going bananas, and they're going to freaking capitalize on this hard.
Oh yeah, Twitch is gonna lose their fucking mind.
Oh,
I can't
God.
wait. I'm
Twitch
gonna
is
go
gonna be
troll
so
Twitch.
annoying.
Which
We're
is
gonna-
an interesting experience.
They're going to use that for like a month because they have nothing else to talk
White
about.
supremacy.
But they have lots of other things to talk about. Isn't RGR and Demon Mama, don't they have beef again? Didn't Demon Mama
yeah,
ask
I
for
saw that.
$300?
Yeah,
I think that's
it's a train
absurd.
on train crime going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh.
I'll debate anyone in the audience other than Adolf for $30.
How could you say that to Adolf?
Well, because whatever.
Let's see here. What do we have? Yeah, but no, I did. What was your tweet, Zulu? Something about it's like a great win for freedom, and it's going to be placeholders. I don't know what did you say?
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you.
I think I liked it. I think I
Yeah. It really is a placeholder for freedom in this. I mean, let's imagine it went the other way and he was guilty on all 5 or 6 counts. That says you cannot defend yourself against the mob or anyone else. And listen, we can all get into whether he should have been there. No, nobody should have been violating the curfew, not the left or the right. But this was just about fucking self-defense.
No, I'm so against like people staying out after the curfews. When the whole summer protest thing were going on, get the fuck out of there after curfew. Like otherwise, like they were just there to cause problems. And
where were the
I have no
police?
sympathy towards that.
To be
Where
fair,
were the police?
there is a valid criticism of the idea that like the government gets to tell you when you are and aren't allowed to protest the government. But they don't do that
unless there's a reason for it, and when they're like destroying our streets for like months
I think in that particular, I think in that particular case, I think in that particular case you have a reasonable point because I don't think there's any good thing that happens at night in the context of protest. But like I don't think during the daytime that we should just in practice just like on a daily basis being allowing the government to say when you are and aren't allowed to protest. This is how they
manipulated the data because they would say, oh yeah, well 90-something% of the protests were peaceful. Those were the daytime protests. Go look at just what the nighttime protests were. I bet you those numbers are going to be a lot freaking lower because all the crime and all that shit that happened, it was when it was at nighttime. So
I sent my tweet in the private chat. But yeah,
I forgot we have a private
curfew. Fuck the government. Fuck them all. You own the roads. Fucking the roads.
And this is why we need trains because we own the roads. The roads belong to the proletariat. Okay.
And homeless people pickaxes and add roll and tell them there's heroin in the roads. Fuck it.
We need to take back our roads. Cars are disgusting. Cars are evil. Abolish cars, specifically in Manhattan. Anyone and everyone who wants to fight me on this matter, other than Liquid Zulu, may fight me on this matter.
That's right. You don't want that smoke from him, boy. He is the resident Friday ANCAP. This is his slot.
Seamus, stop making this anti-Semitic.
You better come prepared.
Oh my God.
What is this nonsense? How dare you? How dare you? Never wrong. All right, wait. What else did we have?
I have to be so careful around this audience because half of them are the worst.
They're all big fans of yours. They're all big fans of yours, Jonah.
You're not too fond of me either, Jonah, but I'm
I
somewhat
know,
based,
I
and
really
you're not.
You know what? Me
You're-
too. They've been throwing me under the bus lately too. So.
Yeah.
I really wonder why. We're all such
I wonder.
We're all such good people. There must be some specific attribute about all three of us that is distinct from what they desire. I wonder what that attribute might be.
We couldn't control that one certain thing either, could we?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's so interesting. Such an interesting little issue. Yeah.
What did Adolf say?
My favorite question.
Don't care about the debate topic. Thoughts on Rittenhouse verdict? Support, oppose, why? Got here late. If they talked about this already, skip this question. I mean, I
watched fucking Lorenzo's stream on it, and it was fucking. I was like cheering when it happened.
Whoa! You watched the Lorenzo stream?
Yeah, I was.
Go ahead,
I'm a race traitor. I was like.
Wait, what is your race? Are you Irish? What are you?
It's gotta be.
I'm based.
He could be Scottish. I look at him and I just.
Why would you? Why would you assume his ethnicity? You just
you're right. Norvin is rubbing off on me.
Listen, I'm Somalian.
All right.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. Do we have anything else that we should pull up?
See, again, a little burp, a small burp, a quiet
God,
burp.
what is with you guys?
A burp.
What the hell?
That's what makes you unbased.
I hate my life.
I don't think that basedhood is about how loud you burp. I just don't
Of
agree
course
with
it is.
What
It's
does
the
the
root
show
of the
come
word.
to?
Based, B-A-S-E.
Based in the
Hello.
burp.
I thought
Yeah.
you went to college. Come on. Bro.
Yeah.
It's a low moment for politically provoked, you guys.
Talking about?
Or debating.
This is a very high moment, okay? Okay, an extremely high moment. Liquid Zulu understands. Is he throwing up? I hope he's not
God.
throwing up.
Please.
I hope he is so I can clip that shit.
What is he
What
doing?
is he doing? No, don't be dead. No,
What did you
he's
do?
not dead.
What did you just
He
do?
was experiencing an experience. He was experiencing an experience. Nothing legally happened because it didn't happen on screen. That's how
What
screens
just
work.
happened? I was looking away. What did happen?
He was experiencing an experience, but it happened off stream, and therefore it's not a problem. Don't worry about it. He did a variety of interactions with a variety of things.
We're gonna end this so badly.
Yeah, and on that note, yeah, Rittenhouse, yeah, good verdict. Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway, closing statements. Let's get to
closing
closing
statements.
statements.
Yes, closing statements. Okay. My statement is the following. Statement number 1. Okay. Stop. You're interrupting my statement. All of you interrupt me all the time, and it's the worst. I'm such a victim. I'm such a victim of the interruption. Shoot, I forgot it. No, Liquid, you have to go first.
Okay, my closing statement is to fuck the world.
Okay.
All right. Wait, I have to rustle my hair before my statement. Okay.
This motherfucker, where did it go?
What happened?
Take this back right now.
You said it
Take it back.
Ever. Why are they such awful people?
Oh my god, they're
Such awful people.
they're
I don't
ruthless.
understand.
Well, some
did
of
you
them are the
find these
haters
people?
hiding. No, Jonah. So don't forget, some are the haters hiding behind alts because they're too pussy to just use their real account, and then other ones really do hate her because she's a woman. So
Yes.
I don't know which one that one was.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
probably a little
see.
bit
I
of both.
comprehend. I comprehend. I comprehend. Yes.
Comprende.
Okay. My
As the
closing
Indians
statement.
would say.
See, a quiet burp.
Oh
A
my god.
quiet
this-
burp.
oh.
The
That
correct
means you're less
version
of a
burp.
man. That means you're less of a
It
man.
does not. This is not what the meaning of
That
manhood
was
is.
a girl burp. That
Oh.
was a girly burp.
Todd,
I'm
I
just
don't
saying,
need
as
your
an
attitude,
unbiased
okay?
mediator,
I don't
I'm
need your
telling you that was a
attitude. First of all,
womanly
you're
burp.
not the mediator. That's Justin. You're the host. Okay, they're different.
No,
I don't know
I'm
how
a
they're
mediator,
different.
not
but
a
Where's
they're
the
different.
moderator.
moderator at?
The fact that you don't know the difference between moderator and mediator makes another. I'm
All right,
going to
let's
put
wrap
extra
this
down on
up.
Carnegie. Go ahead.
Fuck. I messed
All
up.
right,
That's
Jonah,
terrible.
give us your closing statement. so we
Cut
can
your
all
hair,
get the hell
Jonah.
out of here.
GC is the worst. Yes, we have to go home. We have to go sleep. I have to take a nap very desperately. I haven't slept in a
can't
very
believe
long
that-
period.
No, I got things to do.
Jonah is literally Jewish.
God.
Swedish.
Okay. I am Jonah. I am part of the Quibbles Over Coffee media conglomerate. We're on YouTube. We're streaming on YouTube right now. Fuck.
Hashtag
Omni
Renault
something or other on
Omniflow?
Discord.
Omniflow?
That's the one. He
Hmm.
needs to debate me on the veganism
Okay.
in relation to the name the trait issue.
Okay.
And also he is a very silly boy because he believes in utilitarianism, not relational
Oh, that's
utilitarianism.
a different Omni. I don't think he's going to be coming back.
Very silly.
You want to do the fucking name the trait?
No,
thing.
that's not a different
Oh no,
Yeah,
OmniFlow
Omniflow
is
and Omni are
Omniflow.
two different people.
I know. I was arguing with OmniFlow about
But are you sure?
relational
Because
utilitarianism.
Omni is the one who is the utilitarian vegan weirdo.
What a faggot.
And so is OmniFlow.
And so is
Bad
OmniFlow.
Liquid Zulu. Bad Zulu.
I
Look
talked
at-
over it. They
did
didn't
you
hear
just-
it.
did you
No, he didn't.
curse?
No, he didn't.
Liquid Zulu, did you just curse in my
I was
presence?
expecting. Okay, we're on Twitch, you guys. What the fuck?
Cursed in my
Very
presence.
PC. I don't have any wig nats on, or white nationalists, or Nazis, or anything, and I have you two, and now I'm fucking. All right, we got to get out of here.
That's my
shut
closing
it down.
statement. Shut it down. Shut it down now. It must be abolished, never to be seen or heard from ever again.
My closing statement is too good for the
You
hood.
already did your closing statement. How dare you?
Keep getting him off the screen. He's just uncontrollable.
He's the worst. He's the worst. He's the worst.
Too good for the hood.
Okay.
All right.
We will be back tomorrow. We have an infrared debate at 9 p.m. Eastern with Flosny, and they will be debating imperialism. And then we'll do our pop on drink and chat and just whatever. And Sunday
Liquid will join.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It'll be a couple of those. All right, we are out of here. Good night, guys. Yeah, bye.
We hold